Today we're going to finish chapter 4. We're going to do a couple review questions before we get into that. Then as a class we will be discussing some chapter 4 questions. We're going to fill those out as a class. You guys will be working on writing on your paper while I type them up on the smartboard. You can just follow along. And then after that we'll be playing a fun Kahoot as a class together. And you guys know how to play that and you know the rules. So let's start by reviewing chapter 4. Who would like to answer this question? Who is upset in the beginning of the chapter and what is she upset about? Leslie? Yes, Cassie is upset about the buses incident. Her and her brothers feel really guilty about it and they thought that they might have been in trouble in the middle of the night because the nightmen were coming, remember? Very good, you guys. What was the big event that happened in chapter 4? Stephen? Yes, TJ steals the test answers and Stacy ends up taking the fall for it. I have another question for you guys. Would you guys take the fall for your friend if they were cheating? Would you get the punishment? Who would like to answer? Jeremy? Personally, I would not take the fall for my friend. As we know, Stacy ended up getting in big trouble for it, and he wanted to save his friend, but was it worth it? I don't think so. What does Stacy end up doing to get his revenge? This was one of the more interesting parts in the book. Giselle? He ends up going to the Wallace's store and he beats up TJ for causing Stacy to get in trouble by his mom because his mom is his school teacher. What else does anyone else have anything to add that stood out in this chapter? What happened? What happened? Did Mr. Morrison want them to tell their mom about going to the store? Or was he going to tell them himself? Demetrius? Yeah, that's right. Mr. Morrison said he wanted the children to tell them themselves because that would be the grown-up thing to do. Right. Good job. All right, so let's turn to page 95 and we're going to continue reading our book. And we're going to take turns reading aloud like we had been. I'll call out your name and you can go ahead and read. Despite her every effort to persuade Stacy otherwise, when Mama came home, he confessed that he had been fighting TJ at the Wallace store and that Mr. Morrison had stopped it. He stood awkwardly before her, disclosing only those things which he could honorably mention. He said nothing of TJ's cheating or that Christopher John, Little Man, and I had been with him. And when Mama asked him a question, he could not answer honestly. He simply looked at his feet and refused to speak. I'm going to ask you guys a quick question. Would you guys tell on your brothers and sisters for being there with you, or would you just take the fall by yourself? Yasmin? Yeah, I think I would honor my brother and sister as well, and I would have myself get in trouble. Because it wasn't really their fight, it was TJ's fight. It was Stacy and TJ's fight, right? Little Man and I had been with him, and when Mama asked him a question he could not answer honestly, he simply looked at his feet and refused to speak. The rest of us sat fidgety nervously throughout the interview, and when Mama looked our way, we swiftly found somewhere else to rest our eyes. Finally, seeing that she had gotten all the information she was going to get from Stacy, Mama turned to us. I suppose you three went to the store too, huh? Before any of us could speak and answer, she explained, "That does it," and began to pace the floor, her arms folded, her face crossed. Who would like to read next? Janiyah? Thank you. Although she scolded us severely, she did not whip us. We were sent to bed early, but we didn't consider that a punishment. We doubted that Mama did either. How we had managed to escape a whipping we couldn't fathom until Saturday, when Mama woke us up before dawn and piled us into the wagon. Taking us southwest towards Smelling Creeks, she said, "Where we're going, the man is very sick, and he doesn't look like other people. But I don't want you to be afraid or uncomfortable when you see him. Just be yourselves." We rode for almost 2 hours. Before turning onto the backwood trail, we jarred and bounced over the rough road until we entered a clearing where a small weathered gray house stood and fields stretched barren beyond it. Does anyone have any idea where they're going? Mikkel? Yeah, we think that they're probably going to see the man that was they threw tar on him and feathers because he stood up to the store clerk for not being honest about how much things were costing at the store for his debt. So maybe she's bringing them there to teach them a lesson that this could happen if you guys keep acting the way you are, because they're at a time where they have to watch what they say and do because they're not treated the same as white people. As Mama pulled up on the reins and ordered us down, the front door cracked wearily open, but no one appeared. The Mama said, "Good morning, Miss Berry. It's Mary Logan, David's wife." The door swung wide then, and an elder woman, frail and toothless, stepped out. Her left arm hung crazily at her side, as it has been broken long ago but not mended properly. As she walked with a limp, yet she smiled widely, throwing her good arm around Mama and hugging her. "Land sakes, child, ain't you something?" she explained. "Coming to see about these old bones. I just sees to Sam. Says, 'Who you reckon coming to see old folks like us? These your babies, ain't they? Lord Almighty, ain't they fine? Sure is.' She hugged each of us and ushered us into the house. The interior was dark, lit only by the narrow slat of gray daylight allowed in by the open door. Who would like to read next? Leslie, thank you. Stacy and I carried cans of milk and butter, and Christopher, John, and Little Man each had a jar of beef and a jar of Crowder peas, which Mama and Big Ma had canned. Miss Berry took the food, her thanks intermingled with questions about Big Ma, Papa, and the others. When she had put the food away, she pulled stools from the darkness and motioned us to sit down. Then she went to the blackest corner and said, "Daddy, who you supposed to done come to see about us?" There was no recognizable answer, only an inhumane gurgle wheezing. But Miss Berry seemed to accept it and went on. "Miss Logan, her babies, ain't that something?" She took a sheet from a nearby table. "Gots to cover him," she explained. "He can't hardly stand to have nothing touch him." When she was visible again, she picked up a candle and stumped and felt around a table for matches. "He can't speak no more. The fire burned him too bad. But he understands all right." Finding the matches, she lit the candle and turned once more to the corner. A still form lay there staring at us with glittering eyes. The face had no nose and the head no hair. The skin was scarred, burned, and lips were wizened black like charcoal. As the wheezing sound echoed from the opening that was a mouth, Mama said, "Say good morning to Miss Berry, husband, children." So he's so badly burned from the tar that he can't even talk, and he doesn't even have a nose, they said. The boys and I stammered a greeting, then sat silently, trying not to stare at Mr. Berry during the hour that we remained in the small house. Would you guys feel very uncomfortable being there? Janiyah? Yeah, I would too. I think that would be a very hard thing to see, and that's something that you'll remember for the rest of your life. But Mama talked softly to both Mr. and Miss Berry, telling them news of the community as if Mr. Berry were as normal as anyone else. So they're still trying to make him feel comfortable. They don't want to make it awkward for anyone. They're kind of pretending like nothing's wrong. After we were on the main road again, having ridden in thoughtful silence over the wooded trail, Mama said quietly, "The Walls did that, children. They poured kerosene over Mr. Berry and his nephews, and then they lit him on fire. One of the nephews died. The other one is just like Mr. Berry." She allowed this information to penetrate the silence, then went on. "Everyone knows they did it, and the Wallaces even laugh about it, but nothing was ever done. They're bad people, the Wallaces. That's why I don't want you ever to go to their store again for any reason, you understand?" So the Wallaces own the store where they're not allowed to go, and that's where Stacy went the other day, but they're also the people that are burning people, lighting them on fire, putting tar and feathers on people as well if they don't agree with what they say or if they don't want to pay certain fines. We nodded, unable to speak as we thought of the disfigured man lying in the darkness. On the way home, we stopped at the homes of some of Mama's students where families poured out of the tenant shacks to greet us. At each farm, Mama spoke of a bad influence of the Wallaces, of smoking and drinking permitted at their store, and asked that the family's children not to be allowed to go there. So now, what are they trying to do at the store? Who do they not want to go? Yasmin? Yeah, so now Mama's trying to get the other families not to go, and this is what we call a boycott. So if they start to boycott the store, they're going to lose business and they're going to lose money. This is a peaceful way to protest. This is what a lot of African Americans did at this time. The people nodded and said she was right. She also spoke of finding another store to patronize, one where the people were more concerned about the welfare of the community. But she did not speak directly of what the Wallaces had done to the Berries for, as she explained later that something that wavered between the known and the unknown, and to mention it outright to anyone outside of those with whom you were closest was not wise. There were too many ears that listened for others besides himself, and too many tongues that wagged to those they shouldn't. What does that mean, Stephen? There were too many ears that listened for others besides himself, and too many tongues that wagged. Yeah, that kind of means like people are gossiping. They're kind of talking, spreading rumors. The people only nodded and Mama left. When we reached the Turner farm, Moe's widowed father rubbed his stubbed chin and squinted across the room at Mama. Miss Logan, he said, you know I feel the same way you do about them low-down Wallaces, but it ain't easy to just stop shopping there. They overcharge me, and I have to pay them the highest interest. But I got credit there because Mr. Montier signs for me. Now, you know most folks around here sharecropping on Montier, Granger, or Harrison land, and most of them just about got to shop at that Wallace store or up at the Mercantile in Strawberry, which is just about as bad. Can't go no place. So not only are they overcharging them, but they are also they have to pay high interest on the items as well, which is very upsetting because a lot of these people aren't making enough money. All they have is the money from their crops on their farms. Mama nodded solemnly, showing she understood. Then she said, for the past year now, our family's been shopping down at Vicksburg. There are a number of stores down there, and we found several that treat us well. Vicksburg, Mr. Turner echoed, shaking his head. Lord, Miss Logan, you ain't expecting me to go all the way to Vicksburg. That's an overnight journey in a wagon down there and back. Mama thought on that a moment. What if someone would be willing to make the trip for you? Go all the way to Vicksburg and bring back what you need. So now she's trying to get them to shop at Vicksburg instead of going to the Wallaces. So she's going to have to try to convince a lot of people to shop there, even though they won't have, it's a longer trip and they may not have somebody to sign for them as well. Who would like to read next? Leslie? Thank you. Won't do no good, retorted Mr. Turner. I got no cash money. Mr. Montier signs for me up at the Wallace store, so I can get my tools, my mule, my seed, my fertilizer, my food, and what few clothes I need to keep my children from running plumb naked. When cotton picking time comes, he sells my cotton, takes half of it, pays my debt up at the store and my interest for my credit, and then charges me 10 to 15% more as risk for signing for me in the first place. So think about how unfair that is. Just for another man to sign for his supplies, he has to sell his cotton. Then the guy who signs for it takes half of it, pays his debt, and then his interest, and then he charges him even more for risk money. That is crazy. So unfair the way that they're being treated. This year I earned me near $200 after Mr. Montier took his half of the crop money, but I ain't seen a penny of it. In fact, if I managed to come out even without owing that man nothing, I figure I had a good year. Now, who way down in Vicksburg gonna give a man like me credit? Mama was very quiet and did not answer. Sure sorry, Miss Logan. I'm gonna keep my youngins from up at that store, but I got to live. Y'all got it better than most folks around here because y'all got your own place and you got cowtail to a lot of this stuff, but you gotta understand it ain't easy for sharecropping folks to do what you're asking. Mr. Turner, Mama said in a whisper, what if someone backed your signature? Would you shop up in the Vicksburg then? Mr. Turner looked at Mama strangely. Now, who'd sign for me? If someone would you do it? Mr. Turner gazed into the fire, burning to a low ash, then got up and put another log on it, taking his time as he watched the fire shoot upward and suck in the log. What about you guys? Would you take that chance shopping somewhere else to prove a point? Giselle? I think I might take the chance. If I want to stand up for my people, I would make a change and shop somewhere else, even if it did cause me more time and more money. Without turning around, he said, when I was a wee little boy, I got burnt real bad. It healed over, but I ain't never going to forget the pain of it. It's an awful way to die. So he's kind of implying that he doesn't want to end up like the other people who have gotten burned. Then he faced Mama. Miss Logan, you find someone to sign my credit, and I'll consider it deeply. After he left the Turners, Stacy asked, Mama, who you going to get to sign? But Mama, her brow furrowed, did not reply. I started to repeat the question, but Stacy shook his head, and I settled back wondering, then fell asleep. All right, now we're going to go and get into our questions. As I'm typing, I want you guys to write it on your paper. Our first question states, why does Stacy act distant to Mr. Morrison compared to the other children? Do we remember what role Stacy takes in the family after his father goes and works on the railroad? What is his role when his father is gone? Jeremy? Yeah. So Stacy kind of had the impression that he was going to be the man of the house when his dad left because he's the older one. But now that Mr. Morrison has stayed, he's kind of taken Stacy's role as man of the house, which makes him distant and resentful. So Mr. Morrison has taken Stacy's role as the man of the house, which makes him distant and resentful. A lot of older brothers take pride in that role to watch over their siblings. And so he kind of feels like he lost that role when Mr. Morrison came and moved in. Our second question is, why does Stacy accept punishment for cheating when he isn't guilty? Why did we think he took the fall for TJ? Janiyah? Yeah, he considers himself to be a good friend and he refuses to tell on his friend, even though he didn't do anything wrong, right? So Stacy accepts the punishment because he refuses to tell on his friend. All right, go ahead and write that, and then we'll go on to the next one. Good job, you guys. Why does Stacy decide to go to the Wallace store? What does he do at the Wallace store? And why do Cassie and her brother go too? What could they have done instead? Jeremy? Yeah, he goes to the store to find TJ because he wants to confront him about cheating on the test. And the brother and sister go because they want to see the fight. Instead, they could have told an adult and got help, right? That would have been the right thing to do. But Stacy wanted to take matters into his own hands. So Stacy went to the Wallace store to find TJ and Cassie. Oh, I'm sorry. He went to find TJ and Cassie and the other kids come to watch the fight. Okay, I'll give you guys a second to write that down. Good job, you guys. Next question, why did Mr. Morrison fetch the children from the Wallace store? Who has an idea? Mikkel? Yeah, he was driving by and he saw that they were in danger and he didn't want anything to happen to them, right? Because Mr. Morrison is kind of their protector when their dad is gone. So Mr. Morrison fetched the children from the Wallace store because he knew they were in danger and didn't want anything to happen to them. Number 5. Why wouldn't Mr. Morrison tell Miss Logan and that her children had gone to the Wallace store? Why did he want the children to tell their mom? Demetrius? Yeah, because he wanted them to take ownership for their actions, right? And Mr. Morrison didn't want the children to be mad at him either. Mr. Morrison wanted them to take ownership and didn't want the children to be mad at him. Okay, question 6. Why does the visit to Mr. Barry teach the children a better lesson than a scolding or a whooping? Janiyah? Yeah, this, by disobeying the Wallaces, they got to see what happened to this older man. He was burned very badly for disobeying the Wallaces. So she wants to teach them a lesson on why not to go to the Wallace store. And this is more effective because they get to see what truly happens if they do things like that. Okay, I'll give you guys a second to finish that one. We're going to number 7. Good job, you guys. You guys are on task and focused. Compare how Harlan Granger and Big Ma feel about the Logan's land. We know they have had a big struggle throughout the story about keeping their land because Mr. Granger wants to buy it back. Stephen, do you want to answer this question? Thank you. Yeah, Big Ma loves the land because her husband bought it and she sees it as a representation of their family. That's why they want to keep it. And then she can pass it on to her grandchildren and then they can own the farm and make money and have something to own. Harlan Granger wants to own it because he lost land at some point and now it's a kind of a thing where he wants to get it back so he can have all the land and no one else can have it. And there's no personal connection for him in the land. He just wants to be greedy. So Big Ma loves the land because her husband bought it and it represents their relationship. Very good answer. And Granger wants it because he is greedy and has no personal connection. Okay, question 8. We're almost done with our questions. You guys are doing a great job. What is Mama's plan to show back displeasure with the Wallace store and their bigotry? So we talked about what are they going to do? That word starts with a B that we talked about. Janiyah? Yep, they're going to start to boycott the Wallace store to make a peaceful protest. She's hoping that she can get the other people to shop at Vicksburg, right? All right, let's go on to question 9. Keep copying down these as I'm writing. What might result of the boycott of the Wallace store? So let's try to think ahead. What do you guys think will happen if they start to boycott the Wallace store? Jeremy? What's going to happen if they close? What can they not make? Very good. If they boycott the Wallace store, they may start to lose money and might have to close. Okay, our last question, number 10. Good job, you guys. Describe Cassie Logan using details from the story to support your description. So we have to give her some characteristics. What about her, you guys? What describes Cassie? Yasmin? Yep, she is brave. She stood up for a little brother, right? 2 more. She's a good listener, right? She listens to her parents. And 1 more. She is strong, right? She sticks up for herself. Okay, do any of you guys have any more questions before we move on to the Kahoot? You guys are doing a great job. Okay, we're going to get the Kahoot started. I need you guys to put in the code. Okay. Once everyone's in, we will start. Okay. The first question says, what chore was Cassie taking a long time to do in the morning? Churn the butter, wash the dishes, iron the clothes, or dump the chamber pots? Go ahead and make your selection. Okay. Question 2. What did Cassie break? Did she break the lantern, the molding dish, the flower vase, or the wash basin? Go ahead and make your choice. Good job, you guys. Going on to question 3. What item was TJ returning that his mama had borrowed from Miss Logan? Was it an iron, a sewing kit, scissors, or a flashlight? Go ahead and make your selection. Question 4. What had the Nightmen done to Mr. Sam Tatum? Did they set him on fire? Did they lynch him? Did they severely beat him? Or did they tar and feather him? Okay, question 5. Why did Mama whip Stacy in front of the class? Think back to the book and what we just read. You guys know this one. He disobeyed her. He flung his book onto the floor. She caught him with cheat notes during the history test, or he was giving answers to TJ during the test. Go ahead and make your selection. Who broke up the fight between Stacy and TJ? This is a very easy one. Was it Mr. Granger, Mr. Morrison, Mr. Wallace, or Mr. Sims? Go ahead and make your selection. Why did Grandpa call the old pond his thinking spot? What did Grandpa call the old pond by his thinking spot? I apologize. Was it Mary, Daisy, Henry, or Caroline? Go ahead and make your selection. How did Big Ma's older 2 sons die? Did they have the whooping cough? Were they killed in the war? Did they drown? Or did they have whooping cough and drown? Question 9. We have 2 more questions. Where did Mama take the children on Saturday? To Great Faith Church, to visit Mr. and Miss Berry, to shop at the Mercantile in Strawberry, or to apologize to TJ? Last question. Why do most of the sharecroppers in the area shop at the Wallace store? Is it because it's close and convenient? It has the best prices? They're treated well there, or they have credit there? Go ahead and make your selection. Okay, good job, you guys. Now, what I want you guys to do for homework is I want you to go ahead and read chapter 5. And then when you come back tomorrow, we are going to go over the chapter. I'm going to ask you a few key questions. And we're going to take a little quiz to make sure you read it. We're also going to go over our discussion questions like we did today. And then we will do another Kahoot on that. Let's brainstorm. What do you guys think might happen in chapter 5? Do you think that Mom's going to be able to get enough people to boycott the Wallace's store? Janaya? Yeah, I think they're going to be able to do it, but it's going to take some time. But I do believe that there will still be some people that are going to shop there because of the credit. It's going to be hard for them to really convince the people, but if they want things to change, just like Ma and Big Ma have been fighting for, they're going to have to do something big. Okay, thank you guys. You did so great on this lesson, and we'll bring it back together tomorrow. Thank you.